Glory to the Father, to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Well, good morning. Just want to talk to you a little bit about fish this morning. I want to talk to you about, it's still morning. I want to talk to you about fish. In Maine, of course, we have many species of junk fish. They call them junk fish. But I found out that there's really some of the so-called, I'll put that in quotes, junk fish that are really quite tasty. Aside from being a little bony, I mean, I don't mind picking bones. Eat fish for a long time, and I don't mind picking bones. And I'm not a trout snob by any means, by any stretch of the word. I do know that fishing for trout in the state of Maine is really not worth it anymore. You're only allowed like 2 fish, and so why go through all that expense to go catch trout when you're only allowed 2 anyway? I guess it depends on where you're at, but most places, I guess, I hear. I don't do much trout fishing, that you're only allowed a couple of fish, so I don't see any point in that. You know, the Dexter Fishing Game up here, they decided they were going to have a trout lake. Yeah, they're going to have a trout, salmon, togue lake with a few bass, obviously. But they had actively encouraged the destruction and the removal of all the what they called junk fish. And Dexter Lake a large part of Dexter Lake would be considered a shallow lake, except for a couple of deep spots which really aren't all that big. It's not like like Quebec is deep from shore to shore like that. It's relatively shallow, and the small lake, small Wassakeag, is like 20 feet maybe or something. And so we're talking shallow, and that's probably about the average depth of Sebasticook down in Newport. Is a small lake. And I had a friend who went up to the other end, way up to the very end of the little Wassakeag to fish for pickerel. And he reported there's not anything in sight up there at all. No pickerel, no anything. And my cousin, I talked to on the phone, Tom, says that he tried up there too and never got a nibble. Well, you see, this Dexter Lake, and I call it Dexter Lake, is Wassakeag. Big Wassakeag, little Wassakeag. It's fair fishing in the wintertime, but it's still a gamble, and it's an expensive thing to do. Time you get up there, and it's time consuming. You got to dig your holes, got to have equipment to dig with if you want to keep up with the other people, or you can take a chisel and chop your way through. But it is a lot of work for 2 trout or whatever. And one of the problems with the lake is that they decided they were going to have a trout lake, but the trout don't hang in shallow water that way. The water's too warm for them, I'm assuming. So in spring they depart for the depths. I mean, they're in the early spring they're around. I remember one day catching a trout off behind Robinson's there. I caught a trout off that wharf. But normally the trout are in the summertime. They're out in the deep spot. So Dexter Lake, they've removed the junk fish, which is the white perch and the hornpout and the sunfish and the pickerel, and there's some bass still left there, but they've actively encouraged the removal of them, so that there are no junk fish left in the lake. So it's really wrecked summer fishing for the kids, because I remember when I was a kid fishing down behind the fire station. It was all open lawn back in those days. They kept it cleared all the way down to the shore. We could get down there and catch fish, even white perch. And we could go over there and sit behind Robinson's, where Robinson's is up there, and catch half a bucket full of hornpout, good sized ones. And there was always sunfish, and there was always pickerel, and yellow perch up in there too, as well. You see, folks, trout hang into the deeps in the summer, and they don't go around shore, so there's really no fishing for kids in Wassakeag around the shore. That's very sad, because I have a lot of fond memories of catching fish down there when I was a kid. I really advocate the notion of putting the junk species of fish back in, because Wassakeag is a shallow lake, the small one. It's not and even the big side is not really all that deep in most parts, that support large populations of white perch and other various fish that they call junk. Well, there's a lot of junk fish out there that are quite a delicacy. For a long time, I didn't realize that sunfish were a delicacy. I looked it up one day. I said, well, I'm tired of, having game wardens look over my shoulder over 2 trout and I can just go 5 minutes down the road down here to Kerner and catch all the kind of fish I want. And, I went up to Big Squaw and Little Squaw. This is back when they had that name. And I've caught, my share of trout. And, I weren't near as excited on catching those trout as I was when I went up in the Corundale Bog. And if you don't know where that is, I don't want to tell you, but I probably will. That you go upstream from the old mill. The most exciting fishing I think I've ever done is in there. And I catch fish that will get you. I mean, literally get you if you don't handle them right. And I'm talking about the foot-long yellow perch that grow up in there, and the big, gigantic pickerel with the nice teeth, which put holes in you and make you bleed. You'll come out of there sometimes looking like a human pincushion. But, there's nothing that gets my good adrenaline flowing any better than catching perch and pickerel and these junkfish that they say. It's quite a thrill to actually bring in hornpout and handle them and take them home and process them up and eat them. I mean, hornpouts, let's call them semi-venomous. They got a sting that could be worse than a hornet or a wasp, I would think. There's a barbell on each side of the head, in case you don't know about this. They're called bullheads in some circles, but they got a barbell on each side of the head, one on the top. So it's quite a thrill to know that if you mishandle that fish, you're going to get a sting, and it's going to hurt. I remember one day I was cleaning a hornpout, and I got one of the little bones in the spine under my fingernail. And this was after it was dead. I got one of them little bones from that spine up under my fingernail and into the quick. And I'm telling you right now, my whole arm was throbbing. I mean, it made my whole arm throb. A hornet sting is usually local, but that thing made it throb from the wrist all the way, my hand all the way to my shoulder and into my back. So, when you're catching one of them, you've got to learn how to handle it. And another thing, too, I was told a long time when I was a kid that you had to skin a hornpout before you could eat it. Well, now I've found out that they don't have to be spun at all. And my favorite way to do it is open them up and split the head right in half and eviscerate them, pull the liver and all that stuff out of there. If they got an egg case, leave that in there, but wash them out good and soak them in a salt brine overnight, and then pull them out and drain them off really good. And you can make a bacon necktie by wrapping the bacon in around the gills. You want to pull the gills out, too. That's another thing. But take the bacon and wrap it in around the gills and tuck it up in the body cavity and run a toothpick through there so it'll keep it shut, or a couple of toothpicks, and then just put it in, get you some bacon grease, maybe with a little olive oil mixed together, and get it good and hot so that when you drop the fish in there, it'll just start boiling away there. And so anyway, cook it until it's crispy, until the bacon and all that fish is crispy, and then pull it out and drain it on paper towels, and then try it like that. They're a little bony, but the spine of the hornpout is really flexible and really soft like a trout, similar to a trout. But the only thing you got to watch out for, those 3 fins there. And then I found out that sunfish were edible, which we call sunfish. They're really actually a bluegill. I looked it up online, and they said not only are they edible, but they're also very tasty. And I found out that they were quite a delicacy. And so what I do is I slit them down the belly right up into the head, and I pull all the gills and the guts all out of them. And if there's an egg case, I leave that inside. I wash it all out, and I scale it. And I get some butter going in the frying pan. So it's just maybe a quarter of an inch on the bottom of the frying pan, so enough so that it can crisp up the fish and get that really hot, and then put your fish right in there with no batter at all, with salt and pepper, and cook it and just keep turning it over and over and over. I'll tell you right now, that is a delicacy. I caught 24 or more there last Sunday, or last Thursday. I caught 24 more of those, one right after another. And when I got home the next there, and I put them up in the fridge overnight, and I processed them out in the morning. And I said, I'm going to try me some of those. So I cooked up 5 of those in a skillet, and that's quite a delicacy. And pickerel, well, I like to get the big ones and fillet them out. And I said to Esther, my wife, because she likes white perch, and I said, Esther, you want to try something really good? You take that pickerel fillet, and you break it open, you pull them little bones out, which is not much work, to pull a few bones out, and then you can try it. She said that was some good. Pickerel is very tasty. So listen, don't be thrown by this whole idea that you got to eat salmon and trout. If you want omega-3 oils in your meat, then leave the heads on them and just pull the gills out and let the fish cook with the head on it, and the spine down through there will absorb the all the oils from the brain and from the head, which is pretty much pure omega-3. And that's how you do that. And so anyway, I wanted to talk to you about these junkfish. Don't be afraid of eating junkfish. Okay, they're very exciting to catch. Most of it, there's no limit on it. You can take as many as you want. The only thing that they expect you to do is to dispatch your fish immediately when you bring it out of the water. So I bring a baseball, a little small club with me, and I just knock them on the head and throw them in there so that they're dead. But otherwise, the game warden has no reason to bother you. They won't harass you. They know you're just catching junk species, which most people don't. Most people have contempt for, which I don't understand. I've been fishing since I was a little boy, and now when they said fishing, that's what I think is white perch, yellow perch, pickerel, bass, hornpout, and I think to eat all of them. I've eaten every one of them. They're all good. So anyway, glory to the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, both now and ever and under the ages of ages. Amen. Christ is risen.